All I want to say right now can literally transform your perspective on starting and running your own business. I want you to stay with me for at least the next 8 seconds because this introduction may become a turning point in your life. Why? Yes, because if you watch this material to the end, you'll understand that business is not something supernatural, but a step-by-step system accessible to each of us. And if you're ready to drastically change your life, I invite you on an exciting journey into the world of entrepreneurship, where I'll break down everything in detail, warn you about common mistakes, and help you make the first step toward true freedom. It's important to me that you don't just get acquainted with the theory. I want you to feel how real, possible, and achievable everything I'm about to share can be. Enough of living by other people's rules and believing that only the chosen few can create successful companies. You can do it too. My goal is to provide practical advice that will help you not only form a solid foundation for your future venture, but also avoid a whole bunch of unpleasant errors. Get ready to learn how to pick an idea and test its demand, how not to fail when faced with difficulties, and why planning your budget and using your resources wisely is so crucial. Ready? Let's begin. Right now, you're standing on the threshold of a new stage in your life. Maybe you already have an idea, or maybe you just feel it's time to choose a path of independent earning and freedom. And at the moment when your inner fears say, you won't make it, believe me, you will. Here and now, we'll walk through a step-by-step route together, one that will help you organize your thoughts, focus on specific actions, and cast away unnecessary worries. I hope that by the end, I'll see in you a burning desire to start acting instead of the usual self-doubt and endless planning for later. The time has come to dive into the essence of it all. Ahead lies a big conversation filled with motivation and, at the same time, understandable, straightforward advice. Pay attention to every point, reread if necessary, and don't be afraid to set ambitious goals. After all, any giant business once began with a single step. Let's take that step right now. I'm ready to share everything I know and can do. Above all, I want to inspire you toward changes that I believe will make you never want to return to old patterns. So put aside your doubts, take something to write with, and start exploring a new reality where you're the main character and your business project is the best opportunity to live on your own terms. The first thing I want to talk about is a mistake made by almost every beginning entrepreneur. Thinking that if you understand the technical or professional side of a business, like being a superb cook or an excellent IT specialist, you automatically know how to run a company related to those skills. But that's far from true. For a business to work, you need to grasp how to build a system, from attracting customers to managing finances and coordinating a team. Far too often, people leave their salaried jobs excited by the thought, I'm the best specialist, and then fall into a trap. I'm not just supposed to cook, but also market, attract clients, manage finances, handle taxes, all at once alone. The result is burnout, exhaustion, failures, and missed opportunities. That's why it's better to imagine in advance that you already have a business with a team of helpers. At the very least, it's reasonable to have a partner for areas where you're not strong. If you're a brilliant pastry chef, you need someone who can handle advertising, accounting, or finding new customers. Otherwise, you'll burn out, trying to be baker, seller, and marketer all at the same time. The urge to save money on everything and do it all yourself is the first reason many young companies fail. When you're starting, it can be hard to understand that hiring outside specialists or partners requires investment. But this is the kind of spending without which you risk getting stuck in endless routine, forgetting what you began this business for in the first place. The moment you realize that running a business is a separate profession, you get a chance to avoid classic mistakes. One of the most common ones is opening a business nobody needs. Picture this. You've come up with a brilliant six-wheeled bicycle and believe the world is dying to have such a miracle. But in reality, everybody wants the standard two-wheeled version because it's more familiar and cheaper. So before renting a warehouse or getting an office, ask the market, is my product needed? Are people ready to pay for it? On paper, every idea looks inspiring, but reality often shatters dreams if you don't test demand at the right time. How to test? Find your first potential buyers, even if it's just a small group. Gather their feedback and, if possible, take a down payment. If none of them is willing to invest real money, then Either change the product or adjust the concept to match what your target audience wants. No amount of perfect inspiration can make up for a lack of demand. If you think the product is wow, that's great, but see if your buyers share that opinion. Making a mistake at the start is not a crime. The crime is failing to learn your lesson and continuing obstinately when all the evidence points otherwise. Sometimes it's easier to pivot in time than to spend years in vain, hoping maybe it'll take off on its own. In addition to understanding market demand, it's essential to grasp the value of planning from the get-go. The word business plan scares many because you have to crunch numbers, forecast costs and profits, and pinpoint exact figures. But trust me, without it, you're living in chaos. Take a simple example. You want to earn a certain sum per month, say 1,000 units, in whatever currency. Ask yourself, how many sales and what margin do I need to reach that amount? People often respond with, well, I just want to make money, that's it. But business is logical and requires calculations. If you earn 1,000 per deal, you need just one deal a month. If you need 10 deals at 100 each, that also gets you 1,000. But for those 10 deals, maybe you need a specific advertising budget. Similarly, factor in how many staffers or contractors you'll need to handle those 10 deals. That's a basic level business plan. Some people think planning is just a formality for banks or lending organizations, but it's primarily for you. Breaking down a big task into smaller steps stops it from looking so scary. For example, if you see your dream income is $100,000 a month, you need to outline how that $100,000 will come in. How many clients? At what price? How much to spend on advertising? What the conversion is, etc. Numbers don't lie, and even if they show your plan is currently unrealistic, you can make corrections before sinking money and time into a fruitless venture. Now let's talk about advertising, another sore point. Many businesses die without ever attracting enough customers. The paradox is that some people try to save on advertising in the early stages, fearing the limited budget. But advertising is precisely what can bring in the stream of buyers. Without them, all other efforts are pointless. Advertising doesn't have to be huge or expensive, it has to be effective. With modern tech, you can use targeted ads on social media, collect potential buyers' data, or run an explanatory campaign to engage your audience. But hiding in a dark corner with your product and expecting customers to wander in on their own is a losing proposition. Yes, word of mouth can work, but only once you have loyal customers who recommend you. Until then, you need to spread the word yourself. Moreover, advertising is not just spending money. It's an opportunity to see which channels bring in genuine customers and which yield only empty statistics. Don't be afraid to try different formats, test them, analyze the response, and calculate ROI, return on investment. That might feel tedious or complicated at first, but trust me, effective marketing is your gateway to a steady stream of clients. Ask yourself, where do my potential customers spend their time? Which social networks, websites, or offline channels can I use to reach them? If you find the right approach, your advertising investment will pay off multiple times over. Speaking of financial savvy, here's a golden rule. Strictly separate business money from personal money. Too often, once a novice entrepreneur gets their first profit, they start spending it on personal needs. Then the time comes to pay taxes, buy materials, or handle cash flow gaps, and there's nothing left. This leads to a vicious circle of debts. So many companies close down because the owners fail to manage cash flow and mix business funds with private ones. To avoid total collapse, set up a system of bookkeeping. Ideally, hire an accountant or at least use apps to track your income and expenses, plan for taxes, and schedule your payments. Never let your business finances merge with your personal finances. Allow me to step away from general rules and address a topic that can save you from constant stress and overload: systematization. Imagine your business as a complex mechanism where each part has to work in sync. If everything revolves around you alone, then if you get sick or take a vacation, the whole operation will grind to a halt. To avoid that, think about the system. Which tasks need to happen to deliver a final product, and how to distribute them among your team. Make sure your employees have clear instructions, understand their responsibilities, and can do their jobs without your daily intervention. One hack is to pretend that you're setting up a business intended to be franchised. Even if you don't plan to do that, this mindset forces you to detail every workflow step, from how to answer phone calls to how to keep accounts. If you create a thorough manual, any reasonably trained employee or partner can navigate without constantly coming back to you with questions. It removes a huge burden and makes you a real business owner, not a captive of your own enterprise. Don't be scared by terms like business process or regulation. It can be fairly straightforward. Checklists, Google Sheets, electronic instructions. The main point is not to store everything in your head. When a new hire shows up to learn how to, say, make your signature product, you hand them the instructions. Step 1, check the freshness of ingredients. Step 2, set the temperature. Step 3, measure the time and do X or Y. If they follow it all and succeed, your system works. If there's a glitch, fix the instructions or retrain the person. This frees up your time and lets you focus on growth rather than dealing with repetitive tasks every day. Now let's address a question that troubles many. Can you quit a hated job all at once and immediately make a successful business? That's definitely an option for the brave, but it's wiser to first learn how to make money, maybe at someone else's company. In other words, if you're still employed, use that time to figure out how a business really functions from inside, what the sales funnel looks like, how they manage accounting, how they handle client relations. Try seeing it from an owner's perspective, not just from that of an employee. That way, you can pick up crucial skills without taking big risks. You're not the one investing money right now, your employer is. You receive a salary while gaining valuable experience so that in the future you can start your own venture more prepared. If at the same time you still feel that pull towards self-employment, you'll be able to jump into your own business with much better odds of success. Another trap is this: I hired employees, problem solved. Sadly, it doesn't always work out. Sometimes the entrepreneur says, well, I have an accountant now. The accountant knows it all, let them handle it. But if you've never discussed your strategy or shown the real situation, never set specific tasks, they could make unintentional mistakes. As a result, your whole project will suffer. The same goes for a sales manager. You bring them on board, give them free rein, but never established a system, never explained how to answer calls, what script to use, or how you want to stand out in the market. Without your overall vision, employees act on guesswork, and that can lead to chaos. Hence, the main rule: when hiring someone, provide them with detailed descriptions of responsibilities and a clear system in which to operate. Don't think you can just wash your hands of it, saying they'll figure it out. If you yourself don't know what you want, they definitely won't. Managing people is a skill. If you master it, your business can expand without swallowing all your time and nerves. Let's focus on the 3 key personalities often found in one entrepreneur. The first is the actual entrepreneur who looks to the future, dreams, seeks unconventional solutions, and is willing to take risks. The second is the manager, pragmatic and grounded, fond of order, numbers, and plans. The third is the specialist who likes working here and now, enjoys the technical aspects, and is skeptical of abstract dreams. At various times, each of these personalities was more or less dominant in me. If one completely takes over, you get an imbalance. Too much entrepreneur leads to chaos, lots of new ideas but no structure. Too much manager leads to bureaucracy and a need to control everything, stifling creativity. Too much specialist means routine labor done personally with no growth or scaling. Success lies in developing these sides harmoniously or hiring people to offset your weaknesses. Moving on to, what if everything's falling apart? Many beginners are confused as to why they work 12 to 15 hours a day without seeing results. Desperate effort without the right system is just running in place. Better to do slightly less, but do it consistently and wisely, than to juggle everything randomly and expect money to appear out of nowhere. The secret is in building management skills, planning efficiently, and systematizing your work. There's nothing shameful in bringing in experts, coaches, or consultants if you feel stuck. Business is not just about hard work, but about the ability to adapt. Another critically important aspect is the willingness to change and implement innovations. Don't let that scare you. Innovation doesn't have to be something super fancy or high-tech. Sometimes it's a seemingly minor detail that can completely reshape a customer's impression of you. For example, how you greet visitors, how your sign is designed, the script you use for online chat, or how you handle deliveries. Remember that each small improvement can be tested and evaluated for its real impact. Always analyze every innovation. If you come up with a new ad campaign, measure how it affects traffic, how many customers you get, how many end up purchasing. If it's not measurable, it's hard to improve. So any innovation should go hand in hand with analysis. For instance, if you change your website's color scheme, check if your conversion rate increases. If it does, keep it. If not, try something else. Ultimately, you create a system of constant improvement. When you discover new ideas that truly work, implement them permanently. That's what leads you to the franchise model I mentioned earlier. Step by step, you build a prototype business that can potentially be replicated in another city, another region, etc. You'll see that when people follow clear instructions, they achieve the same quality standards you do. And that means the business runs autonomously, finally giving you the freedom you wanted in the first place. Of course, any business goes through stages often compared to childhood, adolescence, and maturity. In childhood, you're euphoric, unaware of the complexities, taking on everything yourself, sometimes harming your health and personal life. In adolescence, you try to delegate and hire employees, but often do so without a clear plan or system, creating more chaos. If you don't break down, go bankrupt, or flee, you may reach maturity. You begin to think like an adult, building the business as a cohesive organism rather than a jumble of random initiatives and people. It's important to remember that maturity isn't always an automatic consequence of childhood and adolescence. A company can be mature from day one if its founder planned a proper system and didn't just jump into everything recklessly, but moved forward with structured steps. Granted, mistakes are almost unavoidable in practice because you'll have to test hypotheses and adjust plans. But if from the start you aim not just to do the work, but to build a business, your results will be very different. Doing the work means acting like a specialist focused on the process who disregards the future. Building a business means seeing the whole picture as an entrepreneur, aware of how each element in the system affects the outcome. A great way to check if you're ready for a mature business approach is to ask, could I hand my business over to someone else, give them clear instructions, and step away for weeks at a time while still maintaining quality and stability? If not yet, then keep developing your system. Perhaps you need to detail your processes more thoroughly, train key staff, or set milestones to ensure it all works without you. Sometimes you may just want to remain the master of your craft and not aim for massive growth. That's your choice. Even so, it's wise to at least maintain a basic system for finances, legal matters, and how you handle customers. Otherwise, you might drown in chaos. An individual entrepreneur working alone can be happier than someone with 10 branches who doesn't enjoy any of it. The main thing is to choose consciously rather than drift aimlessly. But if you do want to grow and develop, be prepared to invest effort in planning, analysis, and automation. You'll face many steps, but they're satisfying when you see your business gaining muscles, ready to compete and resistant to crises. You can't avoid slumps, but if you have the right structure, any downturn hurts less and is shorter. A business is essentially a set of repetitive processes, production or service delivery, plus customer acquisition. If these processes are well-defined and optimized, any turbulence will be milder and quicker to overcome. Another angle. At some point, you might want to expand or shift direction. For example, you started online, but then you decide to open a physical location. Here again, testing ideas matters. Even as an experienced entrepreneur, don't rely solely on enthusiasm. Probe the market demand, calculate expenses, and think about the unique offer that will draw people in. Some think, I succeeded online, so I'll do just as well offline, but the two can differ drastically. So act sensibly, do trial launches, gather feedback, study competitors. A thoughtful approach can save you from painful failures. Summing things up, to start a business from scratch and not plummet into ruin, you must verify your idea's demand, not just rely on personal excitement. Make a simple but clear business plan to understand how the money will flow. Avoid blindly cutting back on advertising since you need a steady flow of customers. Separate your finances. Keep records, pay taxes, and plan your budget. Learn to delegate, systematize, and formalize processes instead of trying to handle everything yourself. Develop your inner entrepreneur, manager, and specialist while keeping these roles balanced. Trust me, once you lay these foundations, you'll have the basis on which you can build everything else. Mistakes will happen. They're part of the journey. But the sooner you start learning from them, the faster you'll see results. And once you score your first wins, even small ones, they'll encourage you further, and it'll be hard to just stop there. People often tell me, I want to open a business, but everyone's warning me that most companies close in their first year. Yes, the statistics are relentless. 9 out of 10 companies fail, whether in the first year or soon after. But that's because a lot of owners dive into business head first, with no plan, no demand testing, no solid financial cushion. Of course, the odds aren't in their favor. If you take a systematic approach, study the market, be realistic about your abilities, focus on what the audience needs, your prospects will be entirely different. I sincerely believe perseverance, multiplied by the right approach, does wonders. In the early days, you'll face unexpected costs, unreliable contractors, tardy suppliers, or troublesome clients. But each incident teaches you something, and the further you go, the harder it is to knock you down. You start seeing the company as an interconnected system, where a breakdown in one area can be offset by well-organized processes in another. Finally, when you feel ready, don't be afraid to broaden your horizons. Think about how to turn your company into a scalable system, maybe via franchising, maybe through opening new branches or creating online schools if your business is service-based. Whatever your approach, if you dream of having a business that brings income for years, bet on a systemic setup rather than just raw talent. Talent is great, but a talented person can be knocked down by overwork or a crisis, whereas a system stands on more solid ground. Now that I've covered the key points, I'd like you to imagine yourself a year or two from now. Picture that you've started your business, you have your first customers, you talk to them, discover their needs, and refine your product. Sometimes you fail, sometimes you win. But the most important part is you keep moving forward. Visualize how rewarding it feels to know that your business doesn't depend on a boss or on someone else's whim. You make the decisions and own the outcome. That's the sense of freedom worth pursuing if you truly want to be an entrepreneur. We often hear, I want to be happy, and my job doesn't make me happy. If you really hate your position, maybe it's time to consider leaving. But I suggest doing it gradually with preparation. If you can still upgrade your skills while employed, do so that you'll be confident later on. Master how to make money for someone else, and only then apply that skill to your own business. You won't be facing the dual challenge of simultaneously learning how to generate revenue and how to keep it for yourself. You'll stride forward knowing exactly how things work. When you create your company, remember, you need more than just entrepreneurial zeal. You need at least minimal managerial abilities. You'll have to craft straightforward instructions and supervise employees. You'll need communication and leadership skills to motivate people to do their best work, not just because they have to. The trickiest part is striking a balance between micromanagement and total freedom. On the one hand, you can't watch every employee's move. On the other, complete lack of direction leads to anarchy if there's no system. Every new entrepreneur eventually faces a moment when they want to give it all up. It's important to remember that crises come and go and you remain. Those who quit while still climbing never discover that a turn or two more could have led them to their long-awaited peak. So please don't give up on your projects simply because of short-term difficulties. Many highly successful people say, I just didn't give up when it seemed everything was lost. Don't you give up either. Here's something else to realize. If you're a meticulous specialist, you'll spot many flaws in other people's work. Sometimes you need to let it go and allow them to learn. Don't expect them to work at your level of commitment and passion, especially if you're the founder with a unique energy. Learning to delegate while maintaining quality is one of the most critical steps in not becoming a prisoner of your own business. To wrap up the main section, I want to emphasize, no matter how much I talk, it all boils down to your actions. If you read this and think, cool, interesting, but do nothing, it'll stay just theory. Real progress appears when you start applying the tips. Begin with small steps. Survey potential clients, draft basic financial calculations, set a specific goal for the number of deals. Write it down on paper or electronically. Then act. Day by day, step by step. If something doesn't work, look for new solutions, new tools, and seek advice. Business is a living organism that evolves, so you must evolve too. We've covered the major reasons why companies fold, from I do everything alone to the lack of a coherent plan and a solid marketing strategy. We've talked about the importance of testing your idea, advertising your product, and keeping finances organized. We've touched on how best to learn about entrepreneurship and why it's critical to master delegation. I hope you now see the bigger picture and understand that entrepreneurship isn't a wild leap off a cliff, but a careful, inspiring, and creative process where you're the architect of your own future. There was a time when I stood at a crossroads, not knowing where to begin, afraid everything would collapse. But step by step, overcoming my fears and doubts, following a test to analyze to implement scheme, I managed to achieve results. I now realize it wasn't special talent or luck, but the mindset of continual optimization and planning that made the difference. You can do it too. Above all, don't forget to celebrate even small victories and not beat yourself up for mistakes. Every mistake is another lesson that can make you stronger if you truly learn from it. Thank you for reading and watching this for so long. I sincerely hope my words serve as a guiding light on your path to success. Now it's time to sum up and say goodbye until next time. But first, a final message to spur you to action right now. Friends, if you feel that my recommendations resonate with you, don't wait for the perfect moment. Start planning, researching the market, and communicating with potential clients today. I'd love for you to subscribe to my channel and leave a like on this video, because we have a lot more exciting material ahead. Once we reach 5,000 likes, I'll release a video on powerful habits that help beat laziness and work at peak productivity. And if you have questions or want to share your experience, be sure to comment. Together, we'll turn your ideas into reality. I wish you resilience, inspiration, and a willingness to think outside the box. Keep in mind that the entrepreneur's journey is one of ongoing growth. I'll see you in upcoming videos where I'll share even more tips and secrets for building your empire step by step. Until then, and best of luck in your new endeavor. Thank you for staying until the very end. Let this be your first confident step into the world of real business. Act now while that spark of inspiration still burns within you.